Hello everyone, this is Starman and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time we escaped from the dungeons of Sargoth, we did a bit of shopping, and we ran into Lilanon, who is the consort of Delicon, the leader of the Dark Elves, and she told us a few things about how she was not responsible for our escape this time. Apparently she did help Goraf escape from the Northlands the first time he ventured southward. But right now, our mission is to find an artifact called Nalar's Rib. And she told us that it was due south of Sargoth, which we're a little bit east of due south. But since we have to move around this mountain range, that's okay. And we ran right into a group of enemies. And one of them just shot Owen with a poison bolt, I think, but luckily we managed to get away from most of them. And that one died almost instantly. And we had plenty of antidote to recover from the poison. Shot. Yep, easily taken care of. And we'll go ahead and drop that note since we won't be needing that anymore. But, yes, as I think I noted before, a fascinating thing about the mention of Nalar is that Nalar in the cosmology of Midkemia is the god of evil. There's Ishap, who's the god of balance, god of good, whose name escapes me at the moment, and Nalar, the god of evil, who is in fact so evil that you cannot even know his name without it drawing his attention and possibly driving you mad. So the fact that they mention Nalar's Rib here is a bit of a continuity gaffe in the later books, because I don't believe that they mentioned Nalar anywhere in the books that had come out when this game came out. Of course, Feist had based the Rift War books upon his homemade, his and his friends' homemade Dungeons and Dragons campaign, so the chance was that Nalar was already there. And let's see. We can make rations out of this deer. Looks like there was another one there for a moment. And we got an ambush somewhere around here, so we'll go ahead and hug this mountain. So that if we do get hit, we'll have a bit more range we can move in. Well, thankfully, it looks like they chose Goraf as a target, and that poison bolt hit that one instead. And let's see if we can get a blinding spell on the crossbowman. But yes, as I said, the mention of Nalar here is rather interesting, because I think that his mention in this game is the first time he was ever mentioned in any officially endorsed Raymond Feist book or product. Anyway, we face that ambush now, and we need to cut westward a bit, but to figure out exactly where we're going, This is precisely why I gave Owen the spyglass instead of James, because going through the Northlands and the areas we have to go through with this party later in the game, the spyglass is going to do us a lot more good. Okay, so I think that one there, due west of where we are, is the object that we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and cut westward. And bingo, that stone right there, I think is Nalar's rib. We'll go ahead and get ourselves another pack of rations. And strictly speaking, we don't need to use Nalar's rib, but it is going to make the fighting a lot easier, since Narab, the Mordahel chieftain, who is the twin brother of the spy master that we killed back in Chapter 1, and the guy who was responsible for capturing us and bringing us to Northlands at the end of Chapter 3, he is less than thrilled about Delacon's leadership right now, not the least of which because he has been cut out of favor due to the fact that his capturing us was not part of Delacon's plan. So, as Lilinan noted, the soldiers surrounding Sar-Sargoth are Narab's men who are under orders to keep anybody from getting out of Sar-Sargoth alive. So thankfully, we can use this artifact, artifact of the god of destruction and death and evil, to destroy them. Since we found that emerald and that note explaining that we need an emerald to use it, back in Sar-Sargoth and that skull out in front of the city. So, yes, we want to use it. Gorath took an emerald and carried it carefully to the stone slab. When he was still several steps away, the gemstone began to feel very warm in his hand, and by the time he reached the slab, the stone was crackling and shooting small sparks, as if from a piece of struck flint. It was all he could do not to drop it in the dust. Fighting the pain which was growing in intensity with every inch, he jammed the emerald into a notch atop the stone. A blast of energy slammed him to the ground. Shielding their eyes from the flood of swirling light that was now emanating from the slab, they watched it gleam and pulse, heard it scream and shriek, felt it burn and electrify with blasts of energy greater than a lightning-filled storm. It stopped as suddenly as it began, and still shaking, they climbed to their feet, trying to regain their scrambled senses, blinking to see again, yawning to unplug their ears, stretching to soothe their aching bones. And though we will not see it immediately, we head westward a bit, and we will find several dead bodies of the enemies that our little spell has vanquished. And we also find a considerable amount of gear and gold. And we could take these bodies and drag them to Sar-Sargoth to make a bit of a fortune off of them, but it really wouldn't be worth the effort. Now, we'll want to avoid the main roads, despite having cleared most of the combats. But there is an encounter here that we do want to seek out. And looks like there are a couple of live soldiers here. And we did manage to surprise this bunch. And I really should have rested first, but we'll go ahead and do an evil seek and target the witch first, because we always want to get the spellcasters whenever possible. And, well, if we're going to rest, we can go ahead and one goblin got away, alas. Owen is recovering a rather impressive 6 health for every moment that he takes to rest here. And a bit more gold. And we'll go ahead and save here. And yes, here we have a well, but a very important well. Standing before the well made Owen feel very strange, like 1,000 eyes were watching him, staring at him, burning into his soul. He shivered uncontrollably. "This well is said to have special properties, though few have ever been able to drink from it," Goraf said. "Why is that?" asked Owen, still shivering. Goraf turned slowly and looked down at Owen. "Because it is very dangerous, and because only practitioners of magic can survive its powers. The decision is yours, my young friend. Do you wish to drink from the well, Owen?" "Yes." Owen took a sip of the magical water. At first there was no effect save the powerful beating of his heart, which had actually begun even before the water touched his lips. Then, slowly, colors began to swirl in front of him, a rainbow of wings that dipped and soared, creating beautiful patterns of light and color in the air. Faster, faster, blending, crashing together until at last an image began to form. Owen refused to blink for fear that it would go away if he closed his eyes for even an instant. Then it spoke, not in words but in impressions, and images that invaded Owen's mind. They swarmed inside his head like bees in a hive until he thought he could stand it no longer. Then they were gone. "We have to go to the magician's house," he said, looking up at Goraf. "Well, there's no house, but we do have a tent at the end of the road." Standing in the tent, which lay on the crumbled remains of the magician's house, Owen felt the same strange feeling of power that he had experienced at the well. Guided by the images that had flashed in his head and now remained there, burning in his memory, he walked to the northeast corner of the tent and began to dig. Goraf joined him. In a few seconds under the surface, their fingers touched the wooden frame of a small box. Pulling the box from its earthly grave, Owen looked inside. A single magical scroll inhabited the box, and he took it hastily. Then they left. And the scroll contains a spell called Unfortunate Flux, which we have seen the effects of before, but we haven't encountered it yet. Apparently, from what I recall reading elsewhere, there is a place to get it earlier in the game in some versions of the game, but in the more recent versions, it is a difficult spell to get a hold of, and you have to find it in the right place in the Dimwood. I'm going to go ahead and save here because I did play this game a bit earlier and ran into an ambush here which killed me immediately thanks to an enemy we hadn't encountered before. So I'm going to save it, and we're going to see if we can catch it here or... yep, there we go. Those giants just jump out of nowhere somehow. The enemy jumped back. Yeah, we have a new enemy here, which are ogre mages. I don't recall if they have the same immunity or inability as regular ogres, but let's find out. It appears that it does hurt them just as bad. And yes, this almost exactly what happened last time. Only that time I had an ogre mage cast Fetters of Rhyme, and it took out Owen in one shot. But as we can see, the giants throw stones. Thankfully, they shouldn't be too difficult for Goraf to deal with. well, somehow we did survive that. And hay. Another tuning fork. Let's see. Even though it hardly matters, we'll go ahead and switch it out for what I have more uses of. And the giants have nothing upon them. And that one has an armorer's hammer. And it appears that there is a fence in a barn here. And nothing inside the barn. And nothing of interest in that well. And we can scavenge some berries here. No one in there. And here we go, some guards we did not kill. With rather considerable amounts of gold on them. The Battle of Sarsargoth was fought here. Let all who visit this place remember the strength and courage of our ancestors. May their legacies stand forever. Not bad, really. And here's another emerald that we can find. And we'll go ahead and head back here to sell that off. Only 13 gold for a humble pile of rations. No use for poison arrows still, shockingly. We do have a bit of a chance to explore a little bit around Sarsargoth. But we needn't bother. And yes, there are farmlands here. We'll take this path. Nobody's lived here in some time either. Now I am following the road here, even though I said earlier there's very little reason to do so, because there is one thing off the road, and I think it's actually south of here, if memory serves correctly. Because right here we have the village. It's more of a village, yeah, the village of Harlech, which is where we told that the second in command of Delacon's forces is based along with the 6, and we want to avoid that place for now because we would be instantly recognized and killed on sight. The space I was looking for is that there's a temple just off the road around here somewhere, and I think it's actually south of Harlech rather than north of it. We're going to go ahead and head south and avoid the town for now. Actually, yes, there is the temple. And yeah, here we have Temple of Gaiswa, who is the god of hunting. We had some encounters with an encounter with some of his followers earlier, the ones in the sewer who were trying to kill us. Anyway, Goraf Sieb. 4 times they had asked to see one of the temple's blood-stained priests to send for the high priestess, and 4 times they'd been left waiting in the alcoves of a temple's central courtyard. When last became apparent that the repeated summons were not going to be answered, Goraf shook his head. It would seem the red-jawed hunter has other hunts to pursue. I'm weary of waiting. Let us leave. So we do have one place where we can get weapons blessed and healing done from one of the more violent and dark gods of Midkemia. And looks like we just wandered into another attack. Thankfully, it's nothing with spellcasters who can disable us instantly. Wow. Didn't think Goraf was that badly wounded. Alright, well, I've been holding on to these healing potions for a while for a reason. Alright, we'll go ahead and rest up. We've just spent the better part of a week resting up here. And I think we're almost. I got one enemy on the road. But we managed to surprise the goblins, and hey, there's an ogre among them. Easy peasy. just over 1,000 gold, and looks like we got some berries that can be used to make rations and healing potions. Hey, even more gold. Looks like there's a house back here. Awful lot of empty houses around here. Oh, I thought we picked that group out, but it's only goblins. I think we can handle them pretty easily. Very poor archer, that. I had to jinx it, didn't I? Ah, well. Wow, these goblins were very well equipped. Dragon scale armor on one of them. And here we are, right outside the city of Armengar, or Sarsbania, as it was called by the ancient Valharu and the Mordhel. A funeral pall hung over the broken stone walls of Armengar as a thick, oily smoke rose from dark cracks in the ground. Scavengers thrived in the ruins, living on artifacts they found like mushrooms, supping on the decayed bones of some old dead thing. Slowly, the Mordhel would reclaim their city and restore its ancient name of Sarsbania. And we have a little path off here. Goref investigated. Peering into the smoke-filled hole, he was unable to see anything, although he was certain he smelled something like the burning of oil. For a long moment, he stared into the darkness before returning to his companion. "The fires still burn underground here," he said to Owen. 10 years passed when this fortress was attacked by Mermandus, the man who held this ancient Mordhel city, set it ablaze rather than see the Mordhel take it again. "Do you hate him for it?" Owen asked, seeing Goref's pained expression. The Mordhel shook his head. "No. As much as we should have done when Delicon first raided our villages." And this takes us into the Naphtha caverns. Goref coughed. Nearly passing out from the intense fumes within the cavern, he was only able to take a few steps before the light was completely obscured by oily smoke. Still, there seemed to be a small hole dug into the wall of the cavern next to the entrance, which he thought he could just reach. Naphtha, Goref coughed, feeling the sticky black substance adhering to his fingers as he grabbed a greasy bottleneck. Feeling that the fumes were beginning to get to him, he stumbled away from the hole. And there is a tavern and a shop here, but I think we will leave exploring the city for next time, because unfortunately, yeah, we don't have the inventory to claim this, or do we? So yeah, we have a bottle we can use for making Goraf's sword fiery. But we'll go ahead and close this chapter out here, and next time we'll head into the city and explore Armengar. We'll see you next time.